Working with clients who are in the pre-contemplative stage of change can be one of the most vexing things that we do as a helping professional. What is pre-contemplation? Well, it's what the word sounds like, pre-contemplation, before thinking about it. Some of those pre-contemplative behaviors that we hear and see clients doing are not wanting to talk about the change. In fact, sometimes blaming other people for their problems or arguing against the change. Sometimes people like to call this stage denial. I don't love that word denial. I actually really like to prefer reframing that as they're not yet ready. So if we're working with a client who is not yet ready to make a change, if I'm reframing it that way in my brain, then I get really curious about what might help them become more ready to contemplate or consider making a change. And we've got kind of a twofold approach here. One is this kind of check yourself, check in with you as a provider. You can consider, what are my expectations of this client? Why am I needing this client to change? What is driving me here to feel the sense of urgency? How can I practice more acceptance of who this client is, where they are in their readiness? How can I show up with less judgment, compassion, positive regard for this client and where they are in their change journey? Because people are protected around change, not yet ready for change, because there are reasons that are keeping them stuck. So let's have some compassion for that and start there as a ground zero when working with pre-contemplative clients. So the outward expression when we're working with clients who are pre-contemplative, outward expression is like our behaviors as a provider, what it is that we're saying and doing with clients that support folks in this stage. And those can be several, coming from motivational interviewing. One is really to focus on engagement. The relationship is everything. So how can you show up and talk with a client, be curious with them about their values, their beliefs, who they are, what's most important to them, what they are willing to talk about. So build that engagement, build that trust, build that rapport, because we know that if a client is experiencing that those feels of like, oh, my provider is curious about me, they are empathetic, they're not judging me, right? If they feel those things, they're more likely to come back when they are ready for change, and they might even be more willing to talk with you about their ambivalence about that change, kind of move into contemplation. So we can use some strategies to sort of test the waters of contemplation with a pre-contemplative client, such as asking if they're willing to talk about it. If you decided to make that change, what might some of the benefits be of making that change? What are some of the not so good things that could happen if things kind of stay as they are? And don't push. It's so important with pre-contemplative clients not to push, not to argue, not to let your fixing reflex kick in where you're persuading or telling them what to do. So don't push. Instead, be curious, see if they're willing to explore the potential for change. If they're not, what would they be willing to talk about or work on in that area? So stay curious, get curious with them, and explore what their motivations are, because our goal is staying engaged with them will make it more likely that they will come back to us when there is more readiness. We want to cultivate that readiness by cultivating that relationship. I'm Hillary Bolter, MI Center for Change. Check out our online MI Academy for lots and lots of courses about motivational interviewing and our Certificate of Advanced Practice program. Thanks for listening.